Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Clay's Couch. I'm your host, Clay D, the one and only, coming at you the best way that I know how. And I'm glad and honored and privileged tonight to be joined by communication strategist. Have you seen her on Rowan Martin Unfiltered show almost every night? But I'm glad to welcome here onto the virtual couch this evening. Thank you, Kellye. Miss Kellye Beathea, please welcome to the virtual couch this evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. You're muted. Yeah,
Oh, oh,
it's all
sorry.
good.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Now, Kellye, just for the audience who may not know, and who may have seen you on Roll Martin Unfiltered, just from one of many platforms. Just tell us about yourself. Who is Miss Kellye? Where are you from? What do you do? Where do you hail from? So, for those who are curious.
Sure. The question "Who am I?" is always a loaded one, but I'll try and keep it brief. I'll try and keep it brief. I grew up in the DMV. I'm a DC native. I call myself a DC native. Most of my life was here, but I was born in Baltimore. HBCU grad from Bowie State University. University of Baltimore law grad. Went straight through. I married the concepts of communications and law. So my background is in communications. That's what I majored in undergrad. And then I went to law school mainly because I saw that there was kind of a niche market for basically translating, you know, jargon, heavy jargon, primarily legal jargon, into marketing materials for people. So people don't really think about it, but when you talk to a lawyer, like if you need a lawyer for help, most of the time they are talking to you in layman's terms because it's not like they're going to go to you and be like, well, according to, in this constitutional book, statute, this, that, and third, they kind of tell you in layman's terms what your problem is and how they're going to fix it. Well, you need that kind of communication in everyday life, especially when it comes to politics and legislation and policy and all of those things. So that's pretty much what I do. I'm a communication strategist who focuses on those three areas: legislation, policy, and politics. And I do my best to explain what's going on in the world through marketing materials. So that's how I ended up on Roland Martin. I had a
Okay.
friend who was a panelist before me. We went to college together, and I had to fill in a slot for him one day because he couldn't do it. And I had no idea what he was talking about on that phone.
No, really.
And no, because at the time, I only knew Roland Martin through News One. And
Right.
at the time that my friend called, he was no longer on News One. The show had been canceled for at least a year at that point. So I had no idea
Yeah.
about his streaming show until I was on his streaming show. So that's how I ended up on there, and it's been fun ever since. I do that about once a week, and he airs it apparently every day. You know,
Yep.
and then my day job, I work as a comm strategist, like I said. So I hope I got everything in there.
Oh no, you
Good
definitely did.
intro.
You definitely did, Kellye, for sure, for sure. So just overall, you mentioned that you work on a lot with a lot of political clientele. What has that been like, and can you share what some of those political clients have been like? Have they been municipal candidates, or have it been congressional campaigns? Has it been in the campaign space, or more in the governmental public policy space?
More government policy. Right now, I have clients in the municipal space, so to speak. Um, local government work and helping them with campaigns and things like that. And by campaigns, I don't mean to say like running for something. A campaign can be anything. Like if you have an initiative to, bring better books to schools, you can have a campaign around that to get better books in schools. So that's what I mean by a campaign. It's any type of initiative by a local government, policy, NGO, anything that they want to put out into the market space. I do my best with the skills I have and the connections that I have to make sure that happens. Um, but yeah, that's most of my client work. I try not to talk about it because, that's my day job. But I do a lot of account management. I do a lot of I don't want to say design work because that insinuates I do graphic design, but as far as, you know, flyers,
So
brochures,
direct mail, basically, mail pieces.
I do digital too.
Okay.
Like most of the stuff is in the digital space at this point, but like you can have a digital brochure, you can have a digital flyer, but I also make sure that it's ready for print just because not everybody's on the internet still. So
Right. Right. I might need to hit you up for some for some potential client work for sure, because
hey.
I definitely do have that, but that's for a much more expansive conversation for sure offline and such. But just overall in general, what I love most about you, Kellye, is I obviously am a huge fan, follower, supporter of Roll Martin for many years, and pretty much have watched all of his contents. And obviously, because I watch Roll Martin Unfiltered almost every day, I'm not gonna lie, say every day, but I like to think I do for see. But I'm always seeing you on just about every day. So you said once a week. It feels like it's every day when I look at it.
I mean, I'm still getting used to the how streaming news works. Like, when you have news shows such as yours, such as Roland's, that can replay the same broadcast, more than once every day. And then people can just, log in and click on whatever episode they want to watch. And that could be it. So for me, I'm typically on live every Friday, unless they need me for something else. So when someone says they saw me on Tuesday, I was like,
Yeah.
it's like I'm still like I'm young, but I'm old fashioned, and especially when it comes to my communication sense, I'm still very old fashioned with it. Just because that's how I was raised, that's what I grew up on.
Right.
I come from a family of comm strategists and things
Oh,
like that,
really?
so I'm kind of inundated in it. So I remember when I don't want to say I remember 8 tracks, but like I remember when my mom was talking about 8 tracks. I remember how you actually did video editing back in the day. It wasn't just, on a Mac and some Final Cut Pro. You had like a machine and you literally had to cut tape and
Oh,
stuff
wow.
like that. And I saw my mom do that. So it's like to have that in your head with, streaming YouTube at the same time. I'm like, oh, wait, it is 2022. Get with the times. So yeah,
So you said your parents were comp strategists as
my
well,
mom
and
was.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
Still
okay.
is to an extent. She's semi-retired. You never really retire.
Yeah, especially
But
that
yeah,
type of work. Strategists and consultants, they never really retire. They just
ever.
because you set your own schedule and your own boundaries. So it's
Yeah.
basically is a perpetual state of always working, whether it's on contract or not. Or but yeah, that's what I aspire to. Ultimately, I'm 34. I probably don't look it, but that's kind of
Not
the
a day
goal.
over 25.
Oh, I appreciate that, Kelly. I appreciate that for sure. But what I love most about your persona on Rowan is that you're very no nonsense. You're very direct. You're very blunt. You tell it like it is. And I definitely appreciate that, especially on a lot of content matter. When it comes to social issues or political issues, you don't hold back. I mean, you're just as to me, my humble opinion, you're honestly are a deputy to Rowan as much as he is, because he's very obviously vibrant, to put it lightly. So you mirror that.
That's a good word.
You mirror that for sure. So I actually had said, if I can't get Rowan, I like to get Kellye on my show, and here you are. So
Oh, well, thank you.
I've been
It's
saying this for
funny how
actually
you
for a
say,
couple of years, so it's not even.
oh,
Yeah, true story, true story. And I'm like, I hope she's nice to me, but I'm pretty cool. But I'm joking
I do
around.
my best to be, nice and kind to everybody. I lean more towards kindness. I don't like saying that I'm nice all the time. But when you are so used to a word, it just kind of comes out before kind. But in all actuality, I find nice to be more political and more surface level. Kindness is more heartfelt and more genuine. I would like to think I'm kind. people out there probably don't think I am, and that's their prerogative.
Here we go, right there.
You
That's
know,
all I like.
like
That's all I like about
there
that.
was a guy that I knew back in college. He said something to me. He said, whether you believe you're right or you're wrong, either way, you're right.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, yeah, that's going to sink in for a second. But that's how I feel. But it's also funny that you think that I don't hold back on rolling. If anything, I hold back a lot.
Oh wow.
I do. Um, my
You don't
friend,
got to hold back here, cause
yeah, I
you,
do. Yeah, I
you can say what
do.
you
It's
want.
still a public perception. Like I keep some things to myself for sure. Because no one wants to get canceled. No one wants to, have something on open record where it could bite you in the butt later. And that's not even to say that I'm keeping, I'm, surface level or shallow. It's just sometimes everything that comes out of my mouth isn't all the way thought through. And I do my best to filter myself
Yeah.
so that what I say I can at least stand behind if it ever, comes back to bite me in the butt later. Like anything that I say on Roland or any other platform, I want to be able to be like Nene Leakes and be like, I said what I said.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's how I conduct myself in situations such as what I'm doing with you, and even at work, even with family and friends, because you got petty people out there who want receipts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I have all my receipts. You can do whatever you want with them. Um, but yeah, I think things through for sure. Um, and I actually try not to be too blunt, but I do my best not to cut corners in any type of commentary or any type of thought that I convey.
Yeah, I hear you there. Because funny thing about me is people will think that I'm actually super sweet and nice, but if you ask some of the day ones, as I call 'em, or people who are really in their circle, like, oh man, Clay, he's moody, he be he be cussing and fussing. Yeah, I mean, I have those, but it's not going to be seen on this on this
But and
platform.
and but that's
Yeah.
because it's just for you, right?
Hmm.
Like, I mean, my friends think I'm hilarious. Like, I
Yeah.
tell
Hmm.
jokes and I'm like, I don't think I'm funny. You just laugh at me telling the truth. There's a difference. Like,
Well, I told you
you
that'd be funny, so I know I'm both. But yeah.
I mean, I think I have a sense of humor, and there are some times where I crack a joke, but it's like I just am who I am. And
That's
there's
good.
always a sense of duality to anybody. Anybody can be multifaceted. Um, like there are sides to me that Roland's people wouldn't see, but my friends would, or other colleagues would, and vice versa. You know, it's just life. It's just life.
Yeah. And so I like to say that in a parasocial fashion that I've known Rowan. And I say that parasocial because it is one-sided, because I've been I've interacted with him for many years. He probably doesn't know who I am. It's that classic case of well-known person you always see, but they don't know who you are.
Oh,
Going back like 10 years or such. But I kind of have modeled a lot of, I guess, the way I move and groove in certain instances after that, kind of like looking after that uncle, like Uncle Rolo type of sense. But he is who he actually is, because I have seen him at different conferences, and he's been at every conference that I've been at, every festival, like Essence and ABJ and whatnot. I've seen people try to argue with him, and he literally will challenge them in a hallway. I'm like,
I've seen that too, actually. Yeah, I've seen
and in
that.
airports too. I'm like, oh,
Oh, see,
that's
no, I haven't seen that
oh, I've
part.
seen
Mm-mm.
that. Yeah, I've seen that all, but for sure. But hey, it's one of the few trusted voices in the African American community, and one of the few that really lobbies for Black-owned media and Black consultants and folks like us and such. So we don't have those voices. So may not like. So I always like to say, there's Long Island iced tea, and there's hard whiskey. Which do you prefer? They both have the same effect, but one burns and one's more smooth. So that's
I don't know about that. I've had some pretty smooth Long Islands.
oh, I've said Long Island's are smooth. I meant that
Oh, you meant the
whiskey.
whiskey was smooth?
No, I meant the Long Island's were smooth and the whiskey was hard. That's what I
Oh,
meant.
see, if you have a harsh whiskey, then that's a problem.
True.
I'm
Yeah.
a whiskey person. I
Me
like
too.
wine and whiskey. So
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
yeah, I don't do a whole lot of lights.
I don't
Um,
either.
yeah, that was my college and law school days. That's long past. Long past. Now, unless it's rum.
Oh, I like rum. I actually had
Unless
rum
it's a
before
rum
we came
punch. I
on
can
this.
handle a rum punch, but my screwdriver days are over. My cranberry vodka days are over. You know, something in me was just like, you know what, Kellye? You can stop now. You can grow up. And that's
Yeah.
what happened.
Well, I'll tell you, back home, I don't really have too much alcohol, but when I'm in Dallas, it's pretty much as a whole mini bar back then. I had some rum before I came on because today got a little stressful and dicey at times. So
Oh, sorry.
it's all good. It's all good. You won't even know it by the way I'm acting now.
That's what rum will do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
I'm more like the way you be getting on that TV. Like when we're not doing Clay Scott, I'd be like, whoa, what's going on here? What are you kidding me? Come on. Well, F that person dead. Like that's real. But people will be really surprised to see that. But I really have to be comfortable in order for that to happen. Like you really have to be in my camp. But most folks, like, it's kind of like Will Smith's like slapping because like, oh, I didn't know Will Smith could slap somebody. You don't know. You don't know everybody all the way.
I'm
So
surprised that people didn't think that because he definitely slapped somebody on the red carpet
yes, exactly.
not even 10 years ago. And I had my thoughts on that I said, you
I know.
know,
I saw him.
elsewhere. You know, I'm just more angry at the fact that again, more people will know that moment than the fact that that was the blackest Oscars we're probably ever going to have.
Oh, it's never gonna be that way again.
Like I don't know if it's ever going to be that way again, and
Oh,
it's because of Will Smith, and that's what
yeah,
sucks. So
yeah.
you know,
That's the sad part about it.
yeah,
I mean, the Oscars. I feel it's an obsolete brand in its own self in the current entertainment age that we're in. Because I think that it really does just only cater to an older white demographic and that type of viewership. So I think it's an archaic organization to begin with. I mean, obviously it's classic. It's classic and it's revered, but I don't know if it's really built for today's entertainment world. That's just how I
you need a
honestly feel.
standard. Any industry needs a standard, and my concern is that everyone saying award shows are obsolete or anything like that. Well, maybe the show is,
Yeah,
maybe, but the accolade itself shouldn't have to be.
correct.
It's only been, I think the first time the Oscars were ever televised was 70 years ago,
Sounds about right.
something like that, because they weren't always televised. But the Oscars have always been a big deal. Like the Academy has always been a big deal. So to me, it's okay that you don't see the show so long as the person gets the award. But there's a double-edged sword with that, because as people are becoming more jaded with award shows, at the same time you have the situations where you have more Black people eligible for these awards. So we want to see that. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? So it's like, honestly, if you look at the ratings for any award show, when you have Black people win or you have a predominantly Black production, the ratings go up. Why? Because we're awesome and
yeah,
our talent is unmatched and we make excellent entertainment product. So it's unfortunate that our culture is becoming more jaded with the award show format as Black people are getting into the award show format, because the doors are opening for them, for us. I don't know what to do with that. I think about that sometimes. I don't know what to do
yeah.
with how to reconcile that. Um,
Exactly.
it could be a situation where you have your own award show altogether. Like we did that with the NAACP awards. We even did
Yeah.
that with the Source Awards. We saw how that turned out, but you
Yep.
understand. Um, But you now have awards that are solely social media based or solely streaming. So maybe that could be the new format, so that the preservation of the tradition is alive, but you don't have to just be stuck in this, I don't want to say archaic, but certainly more vintage format of media.
Exactly. And again, I don't even know if the Oscars or Grammys are even geared towards the modern day, because the ratings keep dipping. I think with the exception of this year, the past 10 years, it's been a curve,
Well, that's my
clearly.
point.
Yeah.
That's
So
my
I
point.
I think that you wouldn't believe how many times, I'm sure you heard it too growing up, because I'll always hear, well, I don't watch the Oscars or the Emmys because there ain't no black people in it. I mean, I was always watching them because I kind of grew up a little differently in some respects and whatnot, but just kind of like dealing with some parts of people, with my other side of the family, felt like, oh, I ain't watching that mess. Like that was the mentality. It was like, I'm not gonna watch it until we're represented. So now we do get representative, and we're obviously we have this situation that the aforementioned with Will Smith, but just it's kind of just brings up this, to me it's we're in a shifting with this streaming platforms and all of that. I mean, you go on Netflix and all the other platforms, it's mostly, and I could be wrong, but mostly diverse content. So that's
It's
not going to
certainly
be
more diverse than the traditional formats, but that's because the politics are taken out of it. Or at least it's less political. It's certainly political, but certainly less political than traditional formats. Like the way in which you can get something into media by way of streaming is a lot easier than to do it via broadcast, just because of
Mm-hmm.
all the red tape.
Yeah.
So I get it. Um, but that's why you see so many podcasts, such as your show. You see, a lot of people out there who realize they have a voice, and frankly, if you have a phone, you have the means to broadcast it. Now, does everybody's voice need to be broadcast?
No.
No, not at all. I've seen a spike in, I don't even know if they're podcasts so much as they are just like clips of commentary from people who frankly should have never had a phone to begin with, or any type of platform to begin with, but because it's about dating, or it's about,
Yes.
you know dating, it gets likes, it gets content, it doesn't get content, but the content gets viewed, and it I feel like it's just a lot of broken people with the mic,
Exactly. That's
and
the
that
thing.
sucks.
We're seeing a rise of, and it's not going to be really published to the mainstream, but we're seeing a rise of these fringe type of podcast commentators. Like you have a
Hmm.
Joe Rogan's and the right wing folks, they have their own
Hmm.
set of podcasts. And then our community, we have the Kevin Samuels and
Oh
those who
yeah.
want to talk about, let's just be frank, about what black women ain't doing right. So I come in and I'm going, okay, well, on my podcast shows, I'm going to kind of be the opposite of that. Clearly 360 or 180, but and highlight and showcase, and more so entertain, educate, and inspire, as opposed to saying, well, black women, this is that. It's, I think the dirty laundry is getting a lot of views, clicks, and everything, instead of stuff that I'm doing. Like, it's this type of stuff. And even if Rowan wasn't Rowan, it's okay. Unless you're, I'm just being humble here, but it's not like we're getting a million people listening. Now, if I was talking about, oh, my dating woes, I mean, I honestly do have that stuff to broadcast, but
I mean,
that's
who
not gonna do
doesn't?
anybody no good.
I mean, there's COVID in the dating pool now, quite literally. Yes, everybody can talk about that. But the difference between a show like this and someone who's getting like a million likes on one video is that, frankly, what you are talking about specifically appears to be more sustainable. So while you don't
Right.
have the immediate reach, the acute reach, it's kind of like when um you ever see like the the results of a lie detector test.
Mm-hmm.
And how, like, you can clearly tell when someone's lying because of the blatant discrepancy between what it's like when they're breathing normally and what it's like when they're lying. That's how I feel about media. Yeah, you can have a situation where you have a podcast and you have that hit, that acute rise in viewership or likes or money or whatever, but can you sustain it after that? For a lot of these people, the answer is no, which is why even the most viral moments now are all of a 72-hour cycle, depending on what it is, because it's not sustainable after that one moment. Meanwhile, shows like this one, shows like Roland, they can have an acute spike in anything. So, like, even with the Will Smith commentary, like Roland even mentioned how when he talked about Will Smith, yeah, his viewership went up because it was hot right then. But it's not like he went from 100 to 0 in 24 hours because he wasn't talking about Will Smith anymore. And that's what's happening with a lot of these podcasts and commentators that I'm seeing in, via Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's like they only are relevant when something else is relevant. But the
Right.
relevancy only lasts every 72 hours. You cannot build an audience off of 72 hours every month. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah.
So, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you'll be fine. Like, don't worry about what other people are doing. Apparently I was supposed to have a podcast 2 years ago. Everybody was asking me, like, where's your podcast? Where's your podcast? I still don't have a podcast. I have the treatment for it and everything. I've done the artwork myself. I've done the treatment myself. I have the equipment. I use the equipment for my job. Haven't used it for a podcast. And it's like something in me is saying, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. And I feel like I'm more ready than I was 2 years ago. But my thing is, if it is not abundantly clear to me to do something, I literally cannot do it because my mind just spins a million miles an hour.
Well, Kellye, that's how I felt for the longest time. Clay's Couch was really supposed to be birthed back in 2017, but I procrastinated on it. I was waiting for the right time, waiting for the right everything. And then finally I just said, you know what? Everyone, I was thinking about doing this way before podcasts were an in thing. Now, COVID probably, the pandemic probably spearheaded that a lot more so, but it's now to where I would just say, this is just my 2 cents. You don't know me from
gotta
Adam.
just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I just haven't been able to even get to that point yet mentally.
Right.
So,
and
like,
I've been there.
when I'm able to just do it, I will just do it. And it's not like a fear or anything. It's like I just said, how am I going to sustain this? Do I have it in me? Because once I start something, I have to keep doing it. That's my problem. I'm like, yeah, I'm good this week, but what about next week?
That was my thing. Like, how am I going to sustain
like,
this?
How am I going to do that? But
I haven't taken a week off, and I'm even amazed at my own self, because there are times where I'm like, how am I going to do it this week? But I go into that reservoir and I find it, and I'm able to make it work. Because one thing about me, I plan months ahead of time. Okay, I'm gonna get this person on, get that person on, like, and really just stack that deck, just like any big show would do. So when I do have those moments, oh, I got so and so booked here. Boom, here we go. And like, even when I reached out to you, that was probably a couple months ago. So
it was, and I was supposed to be on last month or the month before, and I'm sorry, like, my
good.
calendar
you
didn't
know me from that. Like, okay, who's this cat? Is he,
it wasn't even that. It wasn't even that. Like, I've done podcasts where nobody, like, where the audience hasn't even been built yet. It's no skin off my back to help a friend, to help somebody who's still growing. That's what we all are supposed to be doing. That's not the issue. My issue is I literally triple booked myself for this weekend. Triple booked. something
Well,
is going to fall. Like
I'm triple
there's,
booked. I'm quadruple booked.
you know, like I feel it in my spirit. Something's gonna fall through the cracks, and I don't know what it is yet. And in your case, it was just like, dang, I really can't do this right now because of X, Y, and Z or whatever. So now I'm like, okay, it's Friday Eve. I don't have Roland. I'm done with work. I am home. You know, I can do this. Let's go. You know, so that's how my mind works, is just spinning all the time, and if it's not in the calendar, it's going to fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
So I was like, you're in my calendar, I'm gonna do it. So that's how I have to conduct myself sometimes.
Cool. Well, definitely. Just to start the podcast. I will be your first subscriber. I promise you that.
Oh, thank you.
I will be. Yeah, I will
Appreciate
be.
it.
Don't even bad if you're talking to the birds. Just talk. You have a lot to talk about.
No, I have an idea. I'm working with some friends and on it and stuff, so it's gonna be good. Right now, I'm actually in the middle of prepping for a pageant. I decided that my self-love project for the year was to enter a pageant. Because it basically encompasses everything I would need to do for self-love in a pageant. So I was just like, okay, let me just do that. I'm gonna kill every bird with one stone type person, because that's how lazy I am, just innately. So with this pageant, I've been prepping for that and, you know, trying to raise money for it. Because these dresses aren't going to pay for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Setting up my platform, making sure that anything that I present on behalf of myself is what I want to present to the world. So, you know, just being on my P's and Q's, and they took up a lot of my calendar, having workshops and meets and networking this and all of those things. It's a very interesting experience, the beauty pageant world. Not all that different from politics, having to be on your P's and Q's, having to know your stuff, having to memorize things, having to present yourself a certain way, not letting people see you sweat, and practice smiling when you don't feel like smiling. All of those things. Like, I had to practice smiling for like 30 minutes straight the other day, and I was just like, my face hurts. I feel like a Stepford wife. This is weird.
I see you smile quite a well.
I do, but I'm talking through the smile, right? Mm-hmm. With this, I literally just had to.
I get criticized for never smiling in photos. Like, all my photos, believe it or not, minus the promo photo, look like I'm on a rap album cover, the old rap album covers. I ain't talking about the ones today. Like that's how a lot of mine are. I mean, I'm not like a old Temptation. I can't do that. Like a lot of times, like I just
not Otis.
Oh, of course, yeah. I can't do all that. I gotta look like Ice Cube on an album cover. Like no,
I mean it's a new experience. It's definitely a new experience, and I'm definitely getting out of my shell with it. Not to say I've never performed before. You know, growing up, I was a singer. You know, I've been singing my entire life.
Oh, you can sing.
Not today, but
yeah, I ain't gonna make you sing now. Don't worry.
I have to put that caveat out there every time. I'm like, not today though. But yes, I can sing, and so having to figure out what song I'm gonna sing and all those, I still don't know. I'm like debating whether I even want to still do it because I'm scared. But you know, again, this is the self-love project, so I'm, you know,
that's good.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm leaving home with something. That's how good. I feel. Like Denzel, I don't know if you saw that Denzel Washington interview with Jamie Foxx, and it's like that clip where he's like, I'm leaving here with something.
Oh yeah.
That's how I feel about this pageant. It's like, one of these crowns I'm going to get. So let me just sign up for everything and see what sticks.
That's good. That's good.
But yeah.
Do you just stay like in the DMV area like all the time, or do you travel out? Do you venture out?
I mean, when I can, you know, when work permits. But I have 2 trips scheduled for this year. I'm going to Aruba for Labor Day
That's good.
and Jamaica for Christmas. Um, I was in Miami in January. January?
Okay.
Yes, I was in that was January. I was supposed to be in Vegas last month, and that fell through because of work. That made me sad. Um, but I might be in New Orleans later this year. Houston. I go to New York at least once a year because I have family up there. Um, I've never been to Philly, and I'm
Mm.
trying to make it to Philly
Mm.
because it is terrible of me that I've technically been to Philly, but I went straight to the restaurant that I had to go to and then back. So I never
Really?
really got to see Philly. I didn't
That
get to
counts.
experience it. No, it doesn't because I didn't
It
have a Philly
does.
cheesesteak. I didn't get to see anything. I didn't get to go up the Rocky Steps or any of those things. I want the whole cheesy Philly experience, and I'm gonna get it. So that I need to do that. Um, I've been to California.
I used to live there.
Huh?
I used to live there.
Oh, see, I don't know if I could live in California.
No, I wouldn't.
I
I'm
don't
just being
know.
straight up. It's
I don't know.
it's a
Like,
mess.
I want to see other cities in Cali. I went to LA and then I went to Oakland, basically. Oakland, San Francisco, the Bay Area.
I used to live
Um,
in San Fran and LA.
I can't stand San Francisco. And I hope I
Mm.
don't have like a number one fan out there or something who feels slighted by that. But San Francisco was not my scene at all. And I can't even tell you why. It wasn't even about the hills and feeling out of breath every time you look at something. It wasn't that at all. You know when you fit somewhere. You know when you fit somewhere. And in San Francisco, I did not fit. I did not fit. And something about taking a roller coaster to get to work every day
You
because of
talking
the
about your
hills.
trolley?
Yeah, that's just not my ministry. Mm-mm.
Hey,
LA
nothing
was
wrong with
cool
it.
though. LA was really cool. Um, but again, that wasn't really my scene either. It wasn't my scene. Um, I like quiet spaces. Like I don't mind being in the hustle and bustle, but I couldn't find a space to be myself. I was only there for a couple days, but I didn't see myself being there as myself by myself. You know, like maybe with somebody else. Like if I met somebody and they were out there, like I do it for them, maybe, but for myself, probably not. Probably not.
Yeah.
Um, but that's why I like DC so much. And it's weird because people ask me where would I like to live? You know, if I wasn't living in, I was like, everything's already here in DC for me. Everything, everything I want is already in the DMV. Um, you know, like communications, politics, legislation, policy. Like I could move to New York, but they would only be sending me to back to DC for God knows what else. You know, so I don't feel stuck, but I feel like if this is home base and I can travel other places, let me just do that.
Yeah. It's a good 3.5, 4 hours. So I'm there a lot. So I'll be there again on the 21st. Well, not this month,
Yeah.
but
And I
next.
my family roots are in North Carolina, so I need to visit,
Oh,
but
okay.
I
Where in
don't.
North Carolina?
My great grandparents are from Wilmington.
Okay.
So my maternal grandmother's parents are from Wilmington. And my maternal grandfather was from Jamestown, South Carolina, which is not too far from Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
Um, so I, at my roots, I'm a Carolina girl, but
Okay.
I never lived in either of those states, and I've only
Okay.
visited like a handful of times. I could count on one hand the number of times I've been to each state.
Mm,
So yeah, I need to visit again. Um,
definitely.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind buying land down there and, you
It's
know,
cheaper. Oh yeah. Much
oh
cheaper.
yeah, it's a lot cheaper, but I would love to like build something down there and like that would be like, my solace, my sanctuary space when I'm not in DC, but
Oh, there's plenty of
that's
land in North
more
Carolina
like
for that. Trust me.
yeah, that's more like in retirement age type thing, provided that we live to see retirement.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. But hey, but yeah, definitely come down here for sure. It's there's a lot to see. I mean honestly, I would stay living in DC, but I mean retire North Carolina, yeah. But right now, I would stay where you are.
Well, I heard Charlotte's booming. One of my closest friends just moved to Charlotte, and she loves it so far. Um, it's certainly a learning curve because it's slower
It
down
is.
there. It's
It
slower,
is.
but I don't mind slower. Slower means more rest to me. So we'll see. Again, we'll see.
Yeah, just
You know,
hop on 85. 85 South. We'll be right down here.
85 or 95?
95 to 85. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
because
up here
you
is 95.
yeah,
So
you take 95 down to Richmond, then it becomes 85. You take 85, that takes you to Durham and Greensboro and Charlotte.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
95 would just take you to Fayetteville, and nah, you don't want any of that.
Well, Fayetteville State was like my school's rival for the longest. So
I
you're
know.
right. You're probably right about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my I forgot what I was gonna say, but no, you're right. You're right.
Gotcha. Where do you see where do you see yourself in a few years, Kellye? Like, where would you like to be? I mean, you kind of mentioned possibly the podcast, but professionally and otherwise, where do you see yourself going, or
When you
where
say
would
a
you like?
few years, how many years are we talking?
Like 2 to 5.
2 to 5 years. Um, well, in 2 years, I would like to be a director of comm somewhere, like or assistant director of comm somewhere. Um,
Okay,
I don't have a
okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a dream job. I don't know who first said this because I want to say it was James Baldwin. I don't remember. Um, but someone said, I don't have a dream job because I don't dream of labor.
I like that.
And that has been in my spirit ever since I heard it. But what I will say is that I know I have a set of skills and talent that I want to share to benefit the world. And I feel like that set of skills and talent would be best used in as a director of comms or a I don't want to say entrepreneur because everybody is one nowadays, and that for whatever reason irritates me. I
Everybody's
just
an
feel like
entrepreneur. Everybody's got a podcast. So
it's not even about that everybody has one, but it's like I don't know where the notion came from that everybody has to be one.
well, I would say this. I think people confuse owning a business, owning an LLC, and having it being sustainable and scalable. Anybody can have an LLC in theory and call themselves an entrepreneur. Is your business or whatever scalable? Are you making revenue?
Right.
That's
Like
where
I don't have an LLC at the moment, but I have a business, you know. And the reason why I don't have an LLC is because I work for someone at the moment. Like I have an employer. And it made no sense for me to register for an LLC when I already have an employer at the moment. So I haven't been doing a whole lot of stuff under my consulting because I have full time elsewhere. So, but that's not to say I don't have a business. That's not to say that I haven't done things with my business. I just am of the mindset that not everyone is made to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone can be a business person. And I don't like the notion of, and maybe it's me just being in the DMV and seeing a lot of, professional up and coming Black people, but I don't like the notion that Black people have to be entrepreneurs in order to be successful. And I feel like that's a trend that is happening or will happen, and it kind of scares me because like if everyone is an entrepreneur, who is buying the product? What is your product? And like you said, is it even scalable? So like you being an entrepreneur of one, what good does that do? You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care that you have the title CEO on your business card. Who are you the CEO of if you have no employees? And that's not even shade. It's just like, I don't understand the notion. I don't understand the notion. Now, if you want to say you're a business person or you're trying to do X, Y, and Z, go for it. If you feel like you need to be called a CEO or an entrepreneur in order to manifest whatever you need, by all means do it. But please do not put the spirit of entrepreneurism onto everybody that you see, or to look down on somebody who doesn't want to be those things, because they got to buy your product anyway. Like, you need that person. Everybody's not a business person. I am certainly not like a savvy business person. I would love for somebody else to do my budgets and finances and all the things. Like, I don't want to have to do anything. I've worked incredibly hard to feel like I want to be able to pay other people to do those things. I want to travel and write and talk. So I know that was a very long-winded answer to the 2 to 5 years, but that is my goal, to get paid to talk and travel and write. That's it. I don't care what the title is for that. I don't care what it takes for me to get to that point. Literally everything else needs to be taken care of by somebody else that I trust. So, because I don't want to do it. Like,
so you'll hire an assistant and anything
I will
else.
I found a laundry service to do my laundry. That's how serious I am about it.
I do that.
I don't want to do anything other than what I want to do. So that is my goal. That is where I see myself. I don't know how long it takes to get there. If it happens in 2 years, thank you, God. Because that means in 2 years, I'll still be under 35. And yes, I can
you
still.
younger than me. Okay.
Yeah, I'm 31. I'll be 32 this year.
Okay. I'm 34. Yeah.
Like that's what I want. And it's interesting because a couple of weekends ago, I was able to see my life the way that I want it to happen. I was at a networking event on a boat. The Spirit of Washington out here. It's like a dinner cruise thing. And I was invited by a now friend and colleague. And I met through her best friend, who is like a executive producer, communications person, right? And all of these women are older than me. Like, all of them were old enough to be my mom, which was why it was so inspiring to be in that space. But my colleague's best friend invited me to her apartment because it was like next door to wherever we were eating. And it was a penthouse in Southwest. Like, Southwest is just made of money as far as I'm concerned. Like, when you were in this, like near the Jefferson Memorial and stuff. And she had a penthouse. And I just remember looking around and thinking, this is how I want to live. Like, the way that she had her apartment set up, down to the furniture, down to the color scheme, everything. That's what I wanted. Like, the view of DC that she had, that's what I wanted. And I was like, I don't care what it takes to get to this. This is what I want. So like I said, I don't care what it takes to get to that point. That's what I want. Now, if you're talking like marriage and kids and all those things, yeah, that's cute. That's cute. I think about it from time to time, and then I don't think about it more often than not. I have a lot of friends who have kids and are married, and not saying that they aren't happy, but their happiness doesn't look like something that I would be happy with. Not at the moment. And I'm coming to terms with that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, my happiness looks like a penthouse in Southwest where I get paid to talk and write and speak. And everything else is taken care of by somebody else. So that's why
I like it there.
That's what I want.
Keep it 100.
Maybe this is what you meant by the blunt part.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that part.
That's what you meant.
Exactly. Like, you even try to mince words with that. Well, maybe this, maybe you just went straight. Now, I want somebody.
Like, relationships and stuff. That's cute. Yeah, I want somebody. Absolutely. But if it means giving up that, I don't know who would be worth that. I don't know who would be worth that. You know? Yeah.
Funny thing is, I don't want any woman to ever feel as though they have to give up with me. Again, I'm probably in the minority, and I don't spend my hours listening to these
You're not in the minority.
podcasts. But well,
what's funny about those podcasts is that they are the minority. Everybody does not think that way. Virtually no one thinks that way. It's just enough people to make you feel like you are alone in your thinking that gives that an audience. That's what blows my mind. Half those people are lying, by the way. A good half of those podcasts are lying. And I know that because I've dated some people who have either been hosts of those podcasts or guests on those podcasts, and they don't act like what they're talking about at all.
So it's all an act.
It's all an act.
Okay,
I wish somebody would act like that with me.
No, I wouldn't want to. I'd be scared.
And maybe that's why they don't act like that. Maybe they are scared. Maybe that is how they are with other people. Maybe that's why it didn't work out with me, because I don't do that. But you know, like it's all a game, and it irritates me to no end hearing those things. Like, and what irritates me even more is that every race deals with it.
Yeah.
Every single one. I don't know where it came from that only Black women deal with this or only Black men do this. But that ain't true at all.
Well, I'll say this. We broadcast it or publish it more.
I don't even know if it's that. I think
it's definitely that, because I mean, the only time, as I say often, that we've seen white women talk about their dating struggles was like in the late 90s, early 20s, you know, kind of that whole Sex and the City era. Since then, I don't really see much out there. But
my thing is, do you even consume white media like you did back then? That's the question. That's what gets me. Like, right now, we are in such an interesting age of media consumption where you can literally tailor exactly what you watch, what you consume, what you see, to the point where you don't even hear another voice other than your own. Like, you have created your own echo chamber when it comes to news, when it comes to thinking, when it comes to anything. So that's how I know that it's not just Black people, because I have white friends who complain about the same thing. I have Middle Eastern friends who have complained about the same thing. Like, it happens in every culture, every ethnicity. The difference being, they don't, like, we have more of our stuff out there for sure, because we are the majority of the minority, if that makes any sense. We're the largest group in the minority group here in the States. So when it comes to media consumption, yes, our stuff trickles out into the mainstream more often, but that's not to say that other people don't go through it. And it's also inherently an American issue. We're not even talking about Black African people. And more specific, like, Black Nigerian people are different from Black Ghanaian people, are different from Black South African people, are different from Black Ethiopian people. All of them have the very different dating woes and different outlooks on, you know, personal cultural things. And those podcasts don't explain that. These think pieces don't explain that. Yeah, it just irritates me. That's why I don't look at it much. Like, I just keep scrolling.
That's all good. We'll have to talk offline more in depth about all that stuff. But yeah, because I can go on forever about a lot of those things. And I definitely agree with you, Kellye, for a lot of those. So for sure. Now, of course, got to ask a political question before our hard stop is coming up. Where the hell you think we're going to be at in November? You think Democrats are going to lose big? Because I think so. I don't think this is going to be a good midterms for Democrats.
See, this is another situation in which I had to hold my tongue, because I was like, where do you see us? I was like, hell.
Oh, definitely ask me. That's why people don't invite me to the fundraisers no more.
I mean, the bar is, it's bad. It's bad. And not to say, Huh?
What I love is that Roland is the only show where you come on and y'all keep it real about the Democratic Party and liberal politics. Because every
Because
other
who else is
platform,
going to? Who else is going to actually put a foot in our butts and say, move, move, just move? Like, I've never seen this before. It makes no sense how inept and stuck the Democratic Party is right now.
Ciao.
It makes no sense. All of this talent, like some of the most brilliant political minds in the history of ever is in our party right now. And it's not being utilized. Why?
I'll tell you why. And this is every time I watch you roll, and I kind of imagine I'm in the conversation with y'all. And I think you may have been on one episode where he said this. The Democratic Party, or the DNC, they fantasize about appealing to this mythical unicorn white moderate voter that doesn't exist anymore and hasn't existed in a long time.
Well, frankly, that voter that they so dream about, they killed when y'all didn't listen to us and who we actually wanted for the Democratic ticket back when Trump was running. You know what I'm saying? It's like y'all sabotaged yourselves because of your delusional thinking, and yet you are still believing that the delusion is going to manifest itself. It's not. It's not.
And Rowan says, not every day, but all the time. This is the Democratic Party that is still stuck on, well, one, stupid, as he says, and two, it's still stuck on January 20th, 2009. You know what day that is? Obama's inauguration. That party is still stuck on that moment. It's now 2022.
But instead of leveraging the moment, they are frozen in time with it. But I will say that I don't know if you heard today with the student loan forgiveness.
Tell me, because it'll be breaking from you.
So like, and I don't want to misspeak, but basically Biden has structured student loans so that they can be forgiven for like a good chunk of people who owe them. And CNN had an article of like basically like the 4 categories that it'll affect. Like those who went into the government thinking that they were paying off enough and in 10 years they'd be free. That only affected like 100 something people out of like 3,000 people who signed up for the program. So Biden made it easier for the rest of the 3,000 to actually have their loans forgiven. So that's one. Those who were misinformed about the individualized repayment plans for federal loans. Those, I don't know if they'll be forgiven, but it'll be like a better way to put them in forbearance or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like 2 other categories. Again, I'm going off the top of my head.
Right.
And it's been hours since I saw the article, but you understand.
Oh, yeah.
Something is happening. So I'm not going to say that, the Biden administration is doing absolutely nothing. I will never say that. But it's going back to the communications aspect of it, and I've said this on Roland's show, they have a terrible communications team up there, which is, again, surprising because I know some of the people who are on that communications team, and they are some of the most brilliant minds of communications we have ever seen. Why aren't they leveraging their skills to make sure that everybody knows what this administration is doing?
Because, Kellye, they're suppressed. They can't
By
say anything. They're not allowed. And I know because by who?
Like, why would Biden say don't talk about the DOJ putting bad people in jail? Like, why would he say that? Who is saying that he's saying that?
It's the consultants.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I do not understand why these brilliant minds are saying let's not talk about it.
Because
like, I'm looking at CNN right now, and I've yet to see a piece of local news. It is all about Ukraine right now and Russia. I'm like the headline right now is talking about, possibility of mass graves out in Ukraine. I mean, that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. But why should I, as an American, care right now at this juncture when I am still $250,000 in debt because of craziness going on in this country? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
it's like the Biden administration communications team has done a very piss poor job of 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 explaining why I should care about this, why I shouldn't care about what's going on in my own country, and why the wins that this administration has won aren't being celebrated by even them.
I'll tell you, their wins are keeping Trump from a second term. That's
that
what
might
they
not even happen.
that's what they consider win. Hey, we're better than what you would have had. That's the mindset, and because of that mindset, they feel as though they can do anything because we are not that crazy previous guy, and so
Aren't you
therefore
though?
they can have a moderate agenda and nobody will say boo. That's how I feel.
No, we're saying boo. We're definitely
I mean,
saying boo.
we're saying boo, but not everybody else is.
No, the country saying boo. Have you seen his approval ratings? Like they
I've
are
seen
tanked.
them. I've seen them, but I'm just going to say Democrats are going to have a bad night in November, and I don't care what anybody want to come at me at with that.
Yeah, I'm
It's
trying
just a
to
fact.
schedule a vacation for November.
Say what now?
I'm trying to schedule a vacation for November.
Where at? Because I'm going to try to go to.
I don't know. It might be in this country. It just
Okay.
needs to be somewhere in the country where I won't care.
Where you won't tan.
No, where I won't care. I mean, New Orleans sounds nice. San Diego, maybe.
Okay.
I've never been there. Maybe that's the part of California
nice.
that I really like.
San Diego's all right for sure.
You know, somewhere sunny.
That's a good idea. It's a good idea for sure. But yep. But that's the hard stop we have right now. We got.
Did I answer all your questions? Did I do good?
You did very good. You did very good.
Okay.
How tell folks how they could follow you, could follow you, and all of that good stuff.
You can follow me at Kellye Comms, spelled Kellye, Comms, COMMS. That is all my information that you see. Kellye Comms, you can find me on all platforms with that. My Cash App is Kellye DMV Plus, because ask not, want not.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where your birthday money gonna go when we stop.
Oh, absolutely.
you ain't even saying the bit.
more so bills than parties. I don't really party like that.
Like Roy Martin once said, "Oh, I ain't saying to put my cash tag up there. He'll tell you in a minute." Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
yeah, that's all my stuff.
That's good. That's good. Appreciate the time, Kellye. We definitely got to connect more and further. I am going to be in DC next month. So if you're in person around the 20th to 22nd, we'd love to meet you in person if you're around. So yeah.
If I'm around, we'll make it happen.
All right, then. Well, I'll let you go for now, Kellye. I'll touch base with you later and have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.